The night my father slammed the door and said I was no longer his daughter, I learned how loud silence could be. I was 18, barefoot on the cold marble floor, clutching a small bag that held my school certificates and 2 worn dresses. My mother stood behind him, eyes red but empty, as if love had drained out of her hours ago. "You've shamed us," my father said, voice shaking with anger and fear. "From today, you are dead to this family." The door closed, the lock clicked, and just like that, my entire world collapsed into a single, suffocating moment. I had no idea where to go. The streetlights blurred as I walked, tears soaking my cheeks, my heart pounding with a terror I had never known before. I had grown up sheltered, controlled, told what to wear, what to dream, whom to obey. And now, because I dared to refuse a marriage they chose for me, I was alone. By morning, I was sitting on a bench at the bus stand, exhausted, hungry, and terrified of the future. That was when my uncle found me, not out of concern, but out of obligation. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't hug me. He only said, "There is one solution left." That solution came wrapped in silk saris and luxury cars, but it was still a cage. I was told I would marry Arav Malhotra, a man twice my age, a powerful CEO whose name alone commanded respect and fear. The marriage would restore my family's honor. In return, I would get security, money, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. No one asked if I wanted it. No one cared that my hands shook as I signed the marriage papers. I told myself I had no choice. Survival doesn't leave room for pride. I met Arav for the first time on the day of the wedding. He stood tall and composed, dressed in an ivory sherwani, his expression unreadable. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. When he looked at me, there was no desire, no arrogance, only something I couldn't understand then, something quiet and heavy. The rituals passed like a dream. People smiled, cameras flashed, and I felt like an actress playing a role written by others. When the ceremony ended, I was his wife, yet I felt more alone than ever. The mansion I moved into was vast and beautiful, but it echoed with loneliness. I expected rules, cold orders, maybe even anger. Instead, Arav gave me distance. "You will have your own room," he said calmly on our first night. "No one here will force you into anything. If you need something, tell the house manager." His words confused me. I had prepared myself for control, not kindness. Still, kindness from a stranger felt just as frightening. The first challenge came quietly, disguised as comfort. I didn't know how to live in that world. I didn't know which fork to use at dinner, how to speak to staff, or how to exist without fear of making a mistake. Every day, I felt small and unworthy. The staff treated me with respect, but I could see curiosity in their eyes. Who was this girl? Why had the CEO married someone so young and unknown? I began to shrink into myself, spending hours alone, missing the simple warmth of a family that had rejected me. Arav noticed more than he spoke. One evening, he found me crying silently in the garden. He didn't ask questions. He simply sat on the bench beside me and handed me a handkerchief. "You don't have to pretend here," he said softly. "This house has seen enough lies." That was the first time I felt seen. Not judged. Not owned. Just seen. But peace never comes without trials. The media soon caught wind of our unusual marriage. Headlines questioned my past, my intentions, my worth. Online comments were brutal. Gold digger. Child bride. Opportunist. I tried to stay strong, but words have weight, and they crushed me. When I finally broke down and told Arav I couldn't handle it, I expected anger. Instead, he surprised me again. At a press conference, he stood firm and said, "My wife owes no explanation to anyone. If you attack her, you attack me." In that moment, the world felt a little less cruel. The second challenge came from within the mansion itself. Arav's mother, elegant and distant, made it clear I was not what she had imagined for her son. She never insulted me directly, but her silence was sharp. Every glance reminded me that I didn't belong. One day, during a family dinner, she questioned my education and upbringing in front of everyone. My throat tightened, but before I could speak, Arav calmly said, "She is learning. What matters is her heart, not her background." It was the first time someone defended me without being asked. Slowly, life began to change. Arav encouraged me to study again. "You're too young to give up on your dreams," he told me. He hired tutors, enrolled me in an online university, and celebrated my small achievements like they mattered. When I passed my first exam, he brought me a tiny cake and said, "I'm proud of you." No one had ever said that to me before. I cried that night, not from pain, but from gratitude. Yet the hardest challenge was my fear of trusting him. I had been abandoned once by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I was terrified that this kindness was temporary, that one mistake would make me disposable again. That fear created distance. I kept my heart guarded, my words careful. Arav noticed, and one night he finally asked, "Do you think I will throw you away like they did?" His voice wasn't angry. It was hurt. That question broke something inside me. I realized he, too, carried scars. Success had not saved him from loneliness. The turning point came when my father fell ill. After years of silence, my family reached out, not with apology, but with need. They wanted help, money, forgiveness. Old wounds reopened. I told Arav I didn't want to see them. I expected him to push me to be kind, to maintain appearances. Instead, he said, "Do what protects your heart. I will stand by your decision." That was the moment I understood the depth of his respect for me. Months passed, and the walls between us slowly crumbled. Conversations turned into laughter. Respect turned into affection. One evening, as we sat watching the city lights, Arav confessed, "I didn't marry you out of obligation alone. I admired your courage. You chose dignity, even when it cost you everything." His words changed how I saw myself. Maybe I wasn't just a discarded daughter. Maybe I was stronger than I believed. The final challenge came unexpectedly, when a business rival tried to use my past against him. They dug up my family conflict, twisted it into scandal, and threatened to destroy everything Arav had built. Guilt consumed me. I told him I would leave to protect him. He held my hands firmly and said, "You are not a burden. You are my wife." We faced storms together. Together, we confronted the lies, stood in truth, and emerged stronger. The scandal faded. What remained was unbreakable trust. On our first anniversary, Arav surprised me with a simple gift, not jewelry or cars, but a letter. In it, he wrote that marrying me had taught him what power truly meant, not control, but care, not dominance, but devotion. As I read it, I realized something profound. I was no longer the girl abandoned on a cold night. I was a woman who had rebuilt herself with patience, love, and courage. Today, I walk through that mansion not as a frightened guest, but as a queen of my own life. Arav still treats me like a princess, not by spoiling me, but by respecting my voice, supporting my dreams, and standing beside me when the world turns cruel. My family may have disowned me, but fate gave me something greater than blood ties. It gave me a partner who chose me every day. And if there is one message my story carries, it is this. Sometimes, the doors that slam shut behind you are not endings, but beginnings in disguise. Losing everything can lead you to find yourself. And love, when built on respect and patience, can turn even the most painful past into a powerful future.